So hello students, welcome to the class. My name is Sonu and I'm a monistic instructor. Okay. So a little bit about myself. So I'm a passionate JavaScript developer and a mentor. I've been working with JavaScript for more than 7 years and I specialize in React and Node.js development. I have developed application for different domains including e-commerce, booking platform, space mission controls, learning management system, etc. I have trained quite a lot of people throughout these years, and also get a chance to work with different people, and there are people who mentored me as well at the same time. So here I'll be just sharing my experience and my knowledge about the technology, and I hope you like it. So let's jump to our topic for the day. So our topic for today is like for React we will be going through three things. First is useState, second will be useEffect hook, and then building a custom hook. So this is the first topic of the day. Second would be promises in JavaScript. So we'll start with React. So I hope you guys are aware of how React works and what exactly React is. But again, I'll give you a quick look or a quick update on what React is. So React is a JavaScript library that is built by Facebook, and it is mainly used for building, you know, UI layer of a software. Alright. So how exactly before we like how exactly we start or create a React application? So there are several ways to create an application. First is the official CLI tool that is provided by React itself. That's create React app. Second one is another build tool that is Vite. It was usually like it was built for Vue initially, but now it supports React and other frameworks as well. You can do your custom webpack configuration in order to create a React application. By the way, create React app uses webpack under the hood. And then there is parcel, there is rollup, there are quite a few other tools that you can use. For this demo we will go with Vite. So what exactly Vite is? So Vite is a development tool that allows you to run dev server, and then you can run or you can compile and bundle your application in plain JavaScript. It is used for modern web applications. So to start a React app with Vite, what exactly we need to do? So we'll need to just run a command. So we'll do it together. So I'll change screen to VS Code. I have sorry. So we'll create a new React application. Alright, so as I said, here we'll need to run npm create Vite latest. This will create Vite latest. Okay, this will ask you to name your project. I'll call it demo class. Then it says it's not empty. We'll create remove existing files. Yes, we'll choose. Okay, so as I said, now you can see view, react, preact, lead, svelte, others. So we'll go with React. You can navigate through the keyboard buttons. I'll just go to React and click enter. Then you can decide whether you want to use JavaScript or TypeScript. So we'll just go with JavaScript for now. Okay, now you can see three commands. It says, so change directory to demo, then run npm install, npm run dev. So we'll just change directory to demo. We'll just run npm install. By the way, npm I or npm install, both. Npm I is short form for npm install. So you can either do npm install complete or just do npm I. And then run npm run dev. So what this will do, this will create a simple React application. You can see this Vite plus React. So this application is built with Vite and React. Alright, it has this state that manages it. We'll talk about this state hook and all. So a quick walkthrough to what exactly this application built or this tool built. So you can see there is one file as vite.config where we are telling Vite that okay, this is a React application, so do the compilation in that way. Okay. Then in the React, in the package.json, the packages are there. So like there are two packages in the dependency, that is one is React and second one is React DOM. In dev dependency it added TypeScript and Vite. Alright, when we go to source, okay, so the main file for this application is this index.html. Since React allows you to create, or React creates single page applications, we always have a single HTML file, that is entry file. So in that we have an element where we will be injecting a React application, or we'll inject React components inside this, and then we are adding just a simple script tag telling that okay, this is a type of module, right? So it does not consider it as, or does not consider it as a common JS module. So it will be just, it will allow you to run import, export and all. Okay, then we are doing source. So source is source slash main.jsx. We'll quickly move to main.jsx, and here you can see what we are doing. So we are just creating a React app for this root element, and rendering the React, or the rendering the app component inside that. So if we go here and see in the inspect, we can see inside body there is this root, and because we said we said render app component, so whatever was in app component is being rendered here. So you can see the complete HTML is being added here. In case we just change this, React will start giving an error that okay, target container is not a DOM element, because this returns null. Okay, if we just change it again, it's working again. Cool. So here in this basic example, I'll remove all the existing codes, and we'll just add a simple text, useState, useEffect and custom hooks. That's what we are going to talk about for today's session. Good. So let's start this slideshow again. So we talked about Vite, right? Okay, now we have a application built with Vite and React, right? Now let's quickly move to hooks. So I hope you guys know about hooks, but I'll just give you a brief about what hooks are. So hooks are like it's a new edition with React 16.8, and before that we did not had hooks. Okay, so what exactly hooks does? They allows you to inject any feature inside React, all right, or a React component. So they let you use state and other React feature without writing a class. So before 16.8 we had to write classes, right, or the class based component in order to maintain state of a component. All right, hooks, as it says, like hooks are functions that let you hook into React and lifecycle feature from component. All right, hooks does not work inside classes, so you only have to use it inside a functional component. Again, one more interesting thing, before 16.8 functional component, we used to call them the functional component were used to call we used to call functional component as stateless component. But after 16.8, because they can functional component can also have their own states, they are no longer stateless. Right, this is a fun fact. Okay, so what exactly use state hook is? So use state hook, so like I said, before 16.8 we had to create class based component in order to maintain state, and functional component used to be considered as stateless component, right? So whenever we want to maintain state of a component inside a functional component, we can use state, right? So as you can see, it says use state hooks allows you to track state inside a function, and state is nothing but it's just data or property that needs tracking inside your application, all right? Like we said in the like we saw in the simple React app that we just created. We can import it from React package itself, right? So we'll just write a simple state, and we'll see how exactly we can change the state of a component. So for that, what we'll do, so first we will need to import use state hook, use state from React. We use state as a function, right? And we can pass the default value whatever we want for this particular state. So let's say we keep it 0. Okay. And then this function returns an array. Okay. So we are destructuring the array here, and we type so the first element inside the array is the state, and then second is the function that will allows you to update that the value of the state. All right, so we can do it set count. We can just manage, like, let's maintain a button click however time or how many times you have clicked a particular button. So we can just do this button is called we'll do count times. Alright, let's save it and check this. So you can see this button is called 0 times because 0 is the default value. Okay, now if you click on it, it does not do anything. Let's comment this out. So it does not do anything, right? Because we don't have any handler for that. So what we'll do, we'll create a function, right? Let's say we create increment counter. Okay, and what we do in the increment counter, so we just increment the count. Okay, so let's do it count plus 1. Okay, and we call this method on click of this button. So what this will do, this will increment the counter whatever number of times we click this. So you can see I've clicked on this button 25 times. So every time I'm clicking, this counter is being upgraded. Cool. So this is a step. Okay, and there is another way there is a better way to do or handle the set state, that is set count. So set count allows you to have a callback function, and then you can return the value that you want in this. So in the callback, it provides you the previous value, and then you can do a plus. So I can just quickly show you a brief or a change. So let's say we are upgrading the count twice, right? So what now it should do, so whenever I click on this button, it should increment the counter by, okay, let's refresh it, but it's not incrementing it by 2, right? It's just still incrementing by 1. And why this happened? Because this count method, right, it does not work synchronously. Okay, it does not just update it and moves to next. No, it takes some time. And then because so what happens inside React is it updates the state, then state makes an update in the virtual DOM, then React compare virtual DOM with actual DOM. If it's updated, then it re-renders this particular component. This is how React does it. So if you just do it one by one, it does not work. So now if you want it to work, if I'll just do this first, okay, so I'll just incrementing the counter, whatever the value of counter, by 1, and then using callback. So now what happens, so whenever we are here, so now you can see 11 13, so 15 17 19, or if we just 2 4 6 8. So what's happening here, so this callback always have the latest value. Okay, so this previous the value of this previous state is always updated value. Okay, so if we'll just do this, do it like again this, it won't actually work. So you see it just updating by 1 and not by 2, while it should. So that's the reason we, whenever we are doing increment, it's better to always increment on the previous state or the previous state. Alright, so this was all about use state. You can state like in use state you can handle any kind of data, like be it an array or object, or currently we are doing numbers, but you can do strings as well, object as well, type array as well. So any kind of data that can be stored within this use state. All right, cool. So I hope you understand how exactly use state works. Now quickly move to use effect hook. Okay, so what exactly use effect does, so it allows you to perform side effects, right? Okay, so now you may ask what side effects are. Okay, so as I just mentioned about in the previous example, that what exactly React does, whenever a state gets updated, React updates the virtual DOM, then compare the virtual DOM with actual DOM, right? And then perform a re-rendering, right? That re-rendering is actually actually result in a result in a side effect, right? So for example, okay, you are calling an API, right? Or you are trying to get data from a third party API and showing it in the UI, right? But you want to store the data that is being fetched from API into a state, right? So for then what you need to do, you cannot maintain it in a variable, because that variable always gets updated whenever component gets re-rendered, right? So for example, okay, currently we have this hook as use state, and we are trying to increment on it, right? So what we want to do, so let's say whenever we are whenever the value of count is updated, we want to perform something, right? For example, let's say use effect. Okay, we just want to console log updated count value, right? And we'll do count. Okay, and now if we go here and see, so you see it's run twice. Every time the value of this button or this count gets updated, you can see this callback is being executed. Okay, so now you may wonder why, what use effect is, or what. So you know it's being called, right? But why it's being called? So use effect takes two parameters. Okay, So if you'll see it closely, this is a method, right? This is a function itself, right? So it takes two arguments. First is the callback that you want to execute, right? So for example, this was the callback, right? We wanted to execute. So this is a function. The first parameter is function. Second parameter is an optional parameter, whether you want to put it or you don't want. So first function is callback function, and second argument is a dependency array. All right. What dependency array is? So whenever so like with class based component, we used to have life cycle hooks, right? Like component did mount, component did update, right? Something like that. So if you want to do something on component update, you could do that on component did update, component did mount. If you wanted to do something on props change, you could handle it in component did mount, did update, and things like that. But this is not possible here with functional components, right? So React introduced useEffect hook, and this handles both the lifecycle hooks, component did mount and component did update, right? So now when you run it without a dependency, then it will act as a component did update, right? What component did update used to do, whenever there is an update in the in the component itself, right? Be it a change from prop or within the state, right? It was executing the code provided in the component did update, right? So this will work like this. All right. So on any state change, this function will be called, right? Now when we go to the second parameter, let's say we want this function to call only once when component is mounted. So we can just provide a simple blank array, and now this function will only works or only executed once when the component is mounted. All right. I i hope you understand that. Okay. So now we know how the component did mount, how we can use effect to work as a component did mount, how we can use it for component did update, right? Now there was another issue with component did update, right? And what was that? So that was whenever any of the data was being changed, the callback was executed, and then we had to run the condition, check the condition while the previous value state and current value state is for this particular state is same or not. So this is not the case with use effect. Now what we can do, so we can just in the array we can just pass the variables, right, that we want to keep track of, right? So for example, here we want to keep track of count. So whenever count changes, we want to do something, right? So we have just passed count here. So now this will execute once when the component renders, right? And next time, every time the value of count is being updated, it will be called. All right. So every time the value of count is updated, you can see this callback is being executed, right? And this is being consoled every time. All right, cool. So there was another thing, or there is another use case that use effect has, right? Okay. So with class based component, if we wanted to do something whenever the value or whenever the component is about to remove from DOM, right? So that was their component. uh, so that there was a life cycle hook, right? Component will unmount. That was the case with class based component. If you want to achieve the same, right, what exactly we need to do? So whatever we do from the return, so from this first callback we can do a return, and that return should be a callback function again, right? So the component will unmount. So this now will act as a component did mount. Sorry, component will unmount, right? So this callback function will be called whenever component is about to get removed from the DOM. All right, I hope it makes sense. So now use effect can be used first to replace the component did mount hook, component did update hook, and component will unmount lifecycle hooks from the class based components. All right, cool. I hope it's clear. All right, okay. Now we will create a simple custom hook. Okay, so because hooks, as we read, or as we understand initially, hooks are just functional, or just the JavaScript functions, right? That are a special kind of JavaScript function that allows you to hook into your React component. So just like useState and useEffect that we studied, we can also create our own custom hooks. Okay, so on custom hooks, like we can create our own hooks and do whatever functionality that we want to achieve. All right, so here we'll just build a simple hook. All right, that will check whether you are currently online or not. All right, so here you will check that whether you are online or not, or you are connected with internet currently or not. All right, first thing first, for the development of hooks, right? What is the basic or the first criteria that your function needs to have in order to become a hook instead of a function, right? So first thing and foremost, your component, or your function name needs to start with use keyword, right? So if the name of your component, or if your name of your method is starting with use, then React will consider it as a hook. All right, so let's start coding it. All right, so for example, we'll create it. We'll just name it useonline.js. Okay, now we'll just import, or we'll just start writing this use online. Okay, we'll just do export default use online. Okay, so in order to check whether you are online or not, what we'll need to do first, we will need to handle a state, right? That would keep track whether you are connected to internet or not. So we'll just, let's say, you do is online set is online, and default value, so we will use default value from navigator. There is a method, or there is a property that we can keep track on. It is navigator dot online, right? L capital. Okay, and now we can return is online. Okay, so this is how we can create a component. We'll just do some other features as well on this. Now what we'll do, we'll just remove this, or we can keep this as well, and check is online, use online, right? We imported it, and we'll just write a simple div saying you are currently, okay. If is online true, then we will do online. If not, then we'll do offline. If we will go here and see, you are currently online because I am connected to internet. Let me just quickly turn off my Wi-Fi and see. So you see it says now offline, but one thing that you might have noticed, that it did not updated in real time, right? Why? Because we are just setting the initial value. We are not changing the value of our hook or the state whenever the state is being changed from online to offline. Okay, so for that what we can do, so we can just use a useEffect hook, right? We will only run it on mounting. Yes, the other thing is that I forgot to mention is that in your custom hook you can use other hooks as well, right? So if you are building a hook and you want to maintain a state, you can obviously use useState, right? All right, so now here we will check, okay, window dot, we will add an event listener, okay, online. And what we want to do when user is online, so we want to, let's say constant, we'll create a method set online, right? Okay, and what we'll do, set is online to, we'll just set the set online to true whenever it's changed, window, and then we'll add another event listener that whenever you go offline, right, so we want to call another method that is set offline, and set this to, set the value of is online to false. We'll call this, okay. And as I said, the callback method, return callback, or the return function will be acting as a, it will be acting as a component will unmount. So what exactly we want, so whenever this hooks or this component gets removed from DOM, we want to remove this listener. Okay, so what we'll do, so we'll just do remove event listener online. Which event listener we want to remove, set online, window dot remove event listener offline, set offline. All right, so now what we are doing, so on whenever this hook is being called, right, we are attaching two event listener, one is online, one is offline. So whenever you go online, it will set value to true, it will set the value of is online to true. If you go offline, it will just set the value to false, and the component will be re-render again. And whenever the component is being removed from the DOM, we are just removing the event listener. Alright, cool. So if we go here, we say, okay, you are currently offline. Let me just connect with internet again and see. Cool. So you see it's online. I just turn it off and you can see it's offline. It's turning in real time, right? So in case you want to do any operations, you can do that on whenever user goes on offline or online. Cool. Now, yep, it's online in real time, right? So what we have seen so far is how we can use useState, how we can use useEffect, and how exactly we can create a custom hook. All right, I hope it's clear to you and you guys liked it. Okay, if all right, so the second topic for the today was or is about the JavaScript promises, right? So I'll give a brief about what promises are, right, or how promises generally work in JavaScript, right? So okay, promises. If what we think of promises in general, that okay, promises are that you made with someone, right? You have a colleague, or you have, let's say, a sibling that you are doing some promises to them. Let's say, for example, okay, for example, you there is a guest in your home, right? And before they left, they gave you a note of 100 rupees, right? Okay. And you for both you and your sibling, so you said, you made a promise to your sibling that okay, you'll give 50 rupees to him, right, or her, right? So what you have done, you made a promise, right, that you will do something, right? So there will be two states, or there will be two cases. And what will be the two cases? Whether you will fulfill the promise or you won't, right? So whether you'll give 50 to your sibling or you won't, right? And that's how the JavaScript promises also works, right? But when it comes to code, how exactly you say, okay, I'll give 50 to 50 rupees to you, right? How would you say that? All right. So you don't do that in code, okay? So for example, right, we are trying to fetch data from one of the third party API, right? For example, we will be using a fake third party API, that is a JSON placeholder, right? And we can see the promises in action. All right. Okay. So as I said, promises. So you whether fulfill them or you don't, right? So whenever you are doing any async operation, all right, async means there is something that you want it want to do certain thing, right, that is time taking, right? So how exactly JavaScript works? So JavaScript works or executed line by line, right? But whenever there is a timer or a promise, right, promise occurs, they or JavaScript put that on hold and execute the next one and wait for that particular line to either reject the reject your promise or accept your promise, right, or fulfill its promise, sorry. Cool. So I for promises, I usually take one example of food delivery, right? So for example, you are doing you are ordering a food, right, from one of your nearest restaurant, right? You live in a 8-story building, right? Okay. So you have ordered something, right? So your whoever will be picking up your order and delivering to you, they won't only have a single order, so they can pick multiple orders, right? So let's say you you are living on 7th floor, right? And there is someone from 5th or 6th floor, or 8th, even 8th floor, who ordered food from the same restaurant, from the same delivery boy, or from the same app. So same delivery boy picked up order of all of your four, right? And then we'll go to everyone, right, and try to deliver it. So whether you will deliver it or whether you will accept it or you will reject that, right? So when you placed an order, you made a promise that you will be you need this, and then when they are delivering, you decide whether you want to pick it or not, right? Or there may be case that, okay, you have ordered it but currently you are not at the place, so you say, okay, come back later, okay, or come back in 5 minutes, right? I'll pick the order, right? So you are making a promise there that you will pick, right? So whether you fulfill that or you don't, that's the scenario, right? Okay, cool. So here in the JavaScript, what we'll do, so we will just pull data from one of the API, right? Okay, cool. Okay. So for example, let's say here on useEffect, I guess I can remove this code now. So on change, or on component did mount, I am trying to pick or get post. All right, so I'll create a method as get post, right? And then we'll do a simple fetch to this URL, right? Okay. Okay, so now if we go to here and see, sorry, I'll just share this last request. Fetch. So if you'll see, you can see there is this API call, right? Okay, now this API has returned some data and we just want to show it. So let's say if we try to store it in this post, okay, post. Okay, now if you'll see, it says promise, right? So promise is another state, that is you are making a promise that is not come to the state where either you reject that or you accept it, right? So there is a state as pending, so like it's not in the state, or you have not, or just like that your delivery boy has not come to your door yet, right? So there he has picked order from restaurant and is on the way. That's the state is, its state is being considered as pending. Okay, so as I said, you either accept the order or you don't, right? So when you say, okay, I'll accept the order, in that case you just check then. Okay, so now since we are calling this endpoint, so whether this endpoint will accept our request or it will reject our request, right? Now we want to do what we want to do. So we want to do that, okay, whenever this request is accepted, right, and it returns data, do something. So what, then we call dot then. So there are two methods on promises. First is then and second is catch, right? So we go here and we store it in response. The response, what we do, we convert this response into a JSON. This again returns a response, sorry, a promise. So we again do a dot then, and again, now if we'll check this response, all right. So now if we'll check this, we have this 100 post. Okay, all right. Cool. Now this is all good when the promise is accepted. Okay, what if you deny it, right? Or the promise is rejected, or this endpoint does not return any response, right? Or just say, okay, we don't care who are you, I'm not going to answer you. All right, so then there is an exception will be thrown, and we'll catch this exception, right? So we'll just do it, and let's just log console.error exception. Okay, so this is how this is being done. So whether the then will be called or catch will be called, both will never gets called. So either the promise is successful if it's succeeded or it's fulfilled, you'll go to the then section. If it's not, then you'll go to the catch section. All right, this is how or this is the inbuilt promise. This fetch method has inbuilt promise. Now for example, what exactly you want? So you want to create your own custom promises, right? For that, what you can do, so there is a class. All right, let's just remove this. There's a class as promise in JavaScript, right? So since it's a class, so you'll need a new keyword, right? Promise. And now here you return two methods. First is resolve, and second one is reject in your callback method. Okay, so this comes handy when, let's say for example, you are you want to perform certain thing after a timeout is completed, right? So let's say I want to log something. Okay, this should be logged after 5 seconds, right? So if I'll do this set, that's how we do, so timeout 5000, and I'll just do console.log, this should log after 5 seconds, right? I'll just change this should be logged after timer console is logged. Okay, and now see what happens. So you see, let's refresh this. This should be logged timer console, this should be logged after timer console is logged, right? But you see it's logged immediately, and then after 5 seconds this is being logged, right? That's a problem, right? So to achieve something like that, this is a really simple example, right? This is not something very complex, but you may come across any complex situation, right? So what we do, so we do a promise, new promise, to define that, okay, this variable is a promise. The argument of the callback method is resolve or reject, right? Resolve or reject. What resolve or reject does, so resolve, whenever you think that your promise is completed or your promise is fulfilled, you can just call the resolve. Okay, and when you want to say, okay, your timer is, or your promise is not being properly fulfilled, you can just do a reject. And now if you do dot then, and now if you log it here, you can see this will log properly, right? So there is no log for now. Once 5 seconds goes over, you can see these two logs. All right, so I hope it makes sense and you understand that, or you understood that. Okay, there is one more thing with promises, right? So recently there have been a induction of async and await keyword, right? So you can make your method as async and just add a await here, right? And then if you'll do, you don't need dot then, you just do this and we are all good. So if you'll see, it will still work same. So it will return value in the promise only when this is fulfilled. If in some case, if it's not being fulfilled, you can wrap your code around try catch, and inside catch you can handle the catch or the exception here, whatever exception has been occurred. So if I'll just change this to reject, you can see there will be an error logged. Okay, so it says undefined because we are not returning anything. So let's just do an error and see it. So there you see, here the error. So this has not been called, but this has been called. Okay, so this is the other way that you can handle promises. All right, so before I conclude, you may ask why we needed promises at the first place, right? So with JavaScript, we were handling asynchronous code with help of callback methods, right? But when you had to deal with multiple callbacks, right, you are, like, going into one callback, then another callback, then another callback. So it was just an infinite loop, or infinite stages that was going there. Let's say, for example, you have to handle 10 asynchronous requests inside a method. Then it was like a ladder, and you had to you could get confused, okay, which method gets or which callback completes where. This was the problem with this, and this problem is called as callback hell, right? So to avoid callback hell, the promises were introduced, so you could just do dot then and dot catch. But then with dot then and dot catch, you started to have the same issue, that you don't know, okay, when which of the part of code gets completed where, right? So it was quite confusing. So to make that more cleaner, the async and await is being introduced. All right, so that's all from me on this topics. I hope you liked it. Let me know if there is any concern from your side. Thank you. Bye.